Hey there. I can't tell if we're live yet. Are we live? Are we live? Hey there. It's Dr. Susan Peirce Thompson. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to figure out if we're live. I think we're live. Katie, tell me if we're live. We're live. Okay, good. Hey, everyone. Oh my gosh. It's been a while since I did this. I forget what I look for. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our YouTube Live. I'm so glad you joined us. I'm Dr. Susan Peirce Thompson. I'm an expert in the psychology of eating, especially an expert in weight loss and food addiction. I have helped tens, probably by now hundreds of thousands of people around the world to lose weight, to keep it off. I've got some amazing data that I'm going to show you today about our program. It's called Bright Line Eating. I'm curious if you've heard of it. So first of all, I just want to meet you. Post down below and let me know that you're here. Let me know where in the world you are. Let me know how you're doing today. Let me know how your Bright Line Eating program is going. If you've just learned about Bright Line Eating, if this is your first live stream with me, I'd love to hear about that. And post if you have any questions, because we're going to be doing a lot of Q&A today. I'm curious what's on your mind, what questions you have. And video one of the Food Freedom video series became available today. I'm curious if you've seen it yet. Post in the comments down below if you've seen the video or not yet, if you're aware of the video and just haven't seen it yet. There is a link in the little blurb about this YouTube Live. You'll see the link. I think it's probably below me, a little blurb about this. There's the link to watch the video if you want to check it out. The link to actually all the Food Freedom videos. The link has food freedom in the link. So you can access it. You might want to bookmark that page because video 2 is going to be available on Saturday. Video 3 is going to be available on Sunday. Every 2 days, a new video will come out. And I'm going to be doing a webinar next week, more of these live streams. So it's going to be a fun little bit of time together. We call this the Food Freedom Festivities. We do it every fall. It's super fun. And yeah, we've helped thousands and thousands of people every fall. They come into Bright Line Eating and get started. So I see a lot of people are here. We've got Arlene from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Noreen from Florida, Marha from Spain. Hey, Sylvie is here from Canada, Diane from Texas, Rita from Sweden. Hi, Rita. Melanie from Hawaii, aloha. Jennifer from California, Susan from Pennsylvania, Peg from Florida. We've got Tammy from Sacramento, Vicky in Florida, Eva from Sweden, Marlies is here, Flora's here. We've got Utah, we've got Rachel Steiner that says, where in the world am I? Tuning in while I get a pedicure from Oregon. So sweet. You're doing it right, girlfriend. Get those toes done. We've got Christina from Raleigh. We've got Jennifer from Vallejo. She says, I've lost over 60 pounds and I've been trying to do maintenance for a few months. I haven't seen the video and I've so wanted to. Well, Jennifer, today's your day. The Food Freedom video number 1 is available. It's all about the 2 foods that block weight loss. And it's just good to know, right? A lot of us struggled with weight our whole life, me included. At my heaviest, I was a US size 16. Well, actually, I had a series of binging once that was so vicious, it took me from a US size 4 to a US size 24 in 3 months. That was the worst. Actually, this is complicated. US size 4 to Australian size 24. I had moved to Australia in the midst of that to do my postdoc in psychology at the University of New South Wales. And so suddenly I was in Australia. Australian sizes, I think they're a little different than US sizes, but suffice it to say, I put on an extraordinary amount of weight in those 3 months. And I don't have any pictures of it. I was hardly leaving the house. God bless me. I was so desperate and devastated by my food addiction at that time. The weight gain was just uncontrollable. I have suffered so much with my food and so much with my addiction in general. You know, I was a drug addict as a teenager, and my addiction jumped over to food. As soon as I got clean and sober when I was 20, suddenly food took over my life, and I couldn't stop eating. I couldn't manage my weight. And I was successful in every other area of life, right? I was successful academically. I was happily married. I had good friends, and I could not manage my weight. It was the plague of my life. It was the puzzle, the mystery of my life. Why could I do everything else I wanted to in life? I was a kind person. I was a good person. I just could not manage my weight. And I made the study of that, the academic study of that, my life's work. And I finally came to study the brain and to learn, that is my PhD, right, is in brain and cognitive sciences. And I came to understand that certain foods hijack the brain and take away our choice. They warp certain circuits in our brains so profoundly that we find ourselves frequently in a state of no choice, where we want to stop eating and we can't stop eating. The elbow keeps bending and we don't know why we're doing it to ourselves. It's a powerful thing. And I talk a lot about it in video number 1 and explain why it happens. So be sure to post down below if you've got questions. I do see some questions here. Christy Stone says, "Hey, Susan, it's my first time here, and I need to say that bright line eating is the only way that works for me in this point in my life. A few years ago, I lost 20 pounds, and this year another 25. Thanks for all you do." Christy, you're so welcome. And you're not the only one who discovers that, right? Me too. I find that it's amazing when you learn to just avoid with a bright line. A bright line is a clear boundary that you just never cross, right? It's not moderation. It's a bright line. Like when I quit smoking, for those of you out there, anyone here quit smoking? When you quit smoking with a bright line, right? You're just not going to smoke cigarettes anymore, period. Even at a concert, even on New Year's Eve, no more smoking. And that's a bright line. And it actually works for certain foods. Of course, you have to eat to live. We all know that. But you don't have to eat donuts to live. You really don't, right? There are certain foods that you can eliminate with a bright line. So anyway, Christy, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, Live Long with Force says the processed food in America is insane. It is insane, and it's been escalating, right? Like the estimate now is that two-thirds of the foods we're putting in our mouths are not even really foods. They're frankenfoods. They're toxic. They were born in a factory and poured into a plastic bag, right? They never grew in the ground. Never even started off as foods. They're industrial ingredients, specially concocted to hook us, to keep us sick and stuck and buying more and more, and manufactured and put onto shelves. And it's, our food system is what it is now, but we can take back control. I'm not holding my breath for the food system to change anytime soon enough for me. I want to reclaim this life now. So anyway, I think the short link is being fixed for those of you who are looking for the link. But it's being fixed right now. Thanks for letting us know that that wasn't working. Julia Baker says, I've always been overweight from childhood, emotional issues behind it, which is not unusual. Also, I've never had the full feeling after a normal meal. I'm currently 19 and a half stone. Julia, in this first video, I explain the science, the brain science. It turns out to be an issue with the endocrine system that creates that never get full feeling. I'm with you. I had that too. I could just eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And sometimes I felt like I was even hungrier after eating what other people would consider to be a normal sized meal. I would be wanting to eat even more than when I'd started. It was so bizarre. And I'll tell you the secret to that. It's called leptin resistance, but I explain all about it in that first video and what causes it and how to eliminate it. You can actually cure that. And let me show you. I'm going to actually share a video right now. Not a video, what do you call it? A slide, a PowerPoint slide. These are data that we've collected here at Brightline Eating. And I'm wondering if you can see this. I want to expand it. Here we go. Maybe you can see this slide here. It's hunger and cravings. So we've got hunger in blue and we've got cravings in orange. And this is just over the first 8 weeks of someone doing the Brightline Eating Boot Camp. This is a program we're opening registration in about a week for this program. And you see right at the beginning, hunger and cravings, they're medium high. And then you see the brain starts to heal at about week 3, the brain starts to heal. And then you see a steady, pretty much linear decrease in both hunger and cravings, so that by the end of week 8, hunger and cravings are both low. This is showing a healing in the leptin resistance. Leptin resistance is what causes the insatiable hunger. That's the blue line. And also a healing in dopamine downregulation. That's what causes cravings. The I gotta eat this specific thing. What's gonna hit the spot? Like, ooh, I've got a hankering for this food. That heals and goes away when people do bright line eating. And it doesn't actually take that long, just a few weeks. And suddenly they both go down to very, very manageable levels. So pretty remarkable stuff there. Um, let's see. Christy Stone says, "Oh yeah, dude, moderation never works for me. BLE for the win for me." Diana says, "I'm a first timer. I'm still trying to make the crossover to bright line eating." Welcome, Diana. I just want to give you a special welcome. And I just want to ask, do you have any questions? Is there anything that I can, help you out with? It's Ask Susan Anything time. I'm here at your service. Absolutely curious if you have anything that is maybe keeping you from making the crossover. Um, yeah. Julia says, "I'm now 64 and hormone issues are a definite yes. Yes, I am hungrier. I am listening, hun." Sweet, Julia. So glad. So glad. Um, Vi says, "Are whole dates in frozen banana nice cream off limits? I like to eat nice cream daily." Alas, sweetheart, they are. Yeah, that's all food you're gonna want to put on the bright line list. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, the good news is that there are so many amazing foods you eat in bright line eating, like really all fruits, all vegetables, all whole grains, all proteins, like all meat, all dairy, all nuts, all seeds, all legumes, like really all whole real foods we eat. Not dried fruit though. Dates are dried fruit. When you dry fruit, it concentrates it too much. It concentrates the sugars. So whole real fruit, eat prunes. Sorry, plums, right? Whole fresh plums are on the food plan. Um, and yeah, all whole real foods. Okay. Melvon 32 says, "Please help with the night shift. I can't figure out a good schedule. I've been on bright line eating since 2021. I was at goal weight for 2 years. I had to move, and I'm on nights for 18 months now. Weight is up. Please help." Oh, sweetheart, this is one of the hardest ones. So I think what you're going to need is you're going to need coaching, because I've got probably 20 questions that I'd have for you before I could really start to dive into helping you solve this. And what our Bright Line Eating coaches will do is they'll work with you to help figure out a solution. But so I'm curious, are you in the boot camp? Are you a bright lifer? Have you gotten coaching yet from our coaches around this topic? Because this is something that's going to need to be probably a pretty serious discussion, right? It's not a trivial issue, as you've well discovered, right? So it's not exactly the kind of question that I can field here without conversing with you and give you a thoughtful, helpful, informed, considered answer. So I encourage you to get coaching. And again, the two places that we offer our coaching are in the boot camp and in Bright Lifers. If you haven't done the boot camp, then the good news is registration is opening within the week for the boot camp. That's kind of why we're here, is to discuss the boot camp and the videos that lead up to it and so forth. If you've already done the boot camp and you're a bright lifer, then just hop on a coaching call. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. If you've done the boot camp, but your Bright Lifers membership has lapsed, or you never became a Bright Lifer, then you might want to consider becoming a Bright Lifer, because, maybe, you said you were at goal weight for 2 years. Maybe you were able to do that on your own, but times have changed, right? Your situation has gotten more complicated, and now you need a higher level of support to be successful. So that's what I would recommend. All right, Selcat Miles says, hello, Susan. I've been a Bright Lifer since January of 2024, and I've lost 53 pounds. I want to thank you for all of this. You are so welcome. Well done. Well done. Penny Piotrowski says, question. I've been trying to go from the weight loss plan to the maintenance plan, but I'm struggling so much with feeling hungry all the time when I do go on the maintenance plan. Help. That's really interesting. So you're saying you're adding food and you're feeling hungrier. Is that what you're saying? So first of all, the weight loss plan to the maintenance plan is not one to the next. It's a gradual adding of food. It's a gradual adding of food. And so I have questions. I'm curious, did you add food gradually or did you add several things all at once? I'm not sure what you mean by the maintenance plan, right? Because people's maintenance food plans really vary a lot depending on their metabolism. The weight loss plan is pretty well one size fits all. We do have an enhanced protein version for people who need that. But other than that, it's pretty one size fits all. And then what happens is people just lose weight at different rates depending on their bodies. But once you're transitioning to maintenance, that's when your body starts to speak to you. And it could be that you need much more food than you're getting, but your weight would be a factor in here too, right? So I don't have enough information in what you wrote to give an intelligent answer because some of it has to do with, what happened to your weight as you added food as well. So this is actually also a coaching question because this would be a real conversation where a coach would have, 10 or 15 questions in order to kind of weigh in on what's going on. But it's not uncommon for hunger to ramp up as you approach maintenance. If you think about it, that makes sense, right? Like, as you're losing weight, you've got a lot of adipose tissue. Your brain and your body know that. And you're burning up a lot of fat that's supplementing the food you're eating. So you're getting a lot of extra calories every day from your fat stores. Now, as your fat stores dwindle and you get closer to what you would consider to be a goal weight range, well, your body and brain know that too. They're aware that you've got a lot less adipose tissue on your body and it's burning less adipose tissue. And so it's starting to say, hey, I know you've been losing all this weight. There's clearly been an extended famine happening here. But if you don't, get your duff in gear here and find some better food stores pretty soon, we're going to wilt away and die, right? So hunger is a very reasonable response to a prolonged weight loss and a transition to goal weight. So it's not strange or unusual what you're experiencing, but you're going to want some solid coaching to navigate that transition. And congratulations. Congratulations for hitting your goal weight. Okay, Rosie Ruiz says, I've lost 30 pounds and kept it off for a year. However, I just wonder how the food plan can work for someone short like me. I'm 4'10" and 5/8. How can I eat the same amount as women who are 5'10" plus? Also, BLE saves lives, literally and figuratively. Thank you, Susan. So, Rosie, I was just speaking to this just a second ago, right? The reality is that it's the weight loss plan that tends to work across the board, and the differences in human bodies result in differences in rates of weight loss. But then as you add food to transition to the maintenance plan, different people add different amounts of food, everywhere ranging from none at all to 10 or 20 ads, like adding so much food. And the thing I want to let you know, Rosie, is from my experience, height is definitely one factor that's in the mix when it comes to how much energy a person will burn and how robust their maintenance food plan will end up being. But it's really not the driving factor or the only factor. People's metabolisms vary tremendously. Muscle mass varies tremendously, and brown fat and all these things vary tremendously. Bodies are so complex. And, knowing someone's height tells, a little bit of information toward what kind of maintenance plan they'll need, but it's not the whole story by a long shot. So the fact that you're 4'10" and 5/8, says a little bit that you might need a little bit less food on average compared to most women. Uh, but I wouldn't take that one to the bank. You know what I mean? You might have a very robust metabolism and end up eating more than me. I have a relatively weak metabolism, and I'm 5'3.5", almost 5'4", and it's very possible that you could need more food than I do at maintenance, because my metabolism is just not that strong. So it really varies. Okay, Live Long with Force says, I've been a Brightline Eating member since 2019. Sticking to the lines is the hardest in the winter, as I feel really, really cold when I'm 100% bright. Is there a reason for this and a way to help it? And number two, how does staying bright when in the weight loss plan affect a woman's estrogen levels? I'm fighting breast cancer, which is very hormone fed. Does losing fat release estrogen as well? Thanks. Okay, so Live Long with Force. Uh, the coldness you describe is a challenge for a lot of people, me included. You could call it the bright line chill. It's a thing. And I hate to say this, but in my experience, it's true. I've never found a way to overcome it, except warmer socks and hot baths. And my husband for Christmas a couple years ago got me one of those electric jackets. There's a button right here that I press that lights up, and the jacket is heated. I'm cold a lot, and it's not just not having a lot of fat on my body. It is something about having been very overweight and then losing that weight. It does something to our perceived temperature. Yeah, it just, boy, we feel cold a lot. I hear it from a lot of people. Not everyone has that, but it's a very common symptom or side effect and of massive weight loss. And I've never found any antidote to it, unfortunately. As far as estrogen and breast cancer, so no, just losing weight doesn't release estrogen. As a matter of fact, it's kind of the opposite. So hormones in general and estrogen in particular, they're manufactured and stored in fat cells. The less fat you have, um, at the extreme, the harder it is to produce and store hormones of all sorts. This is one of the reasons you want to make sure not to get too thin. Um, so, yeah, so you should not need to worry about extra estrogen with your breast cancer. Good luck fighting your breast cancer. Breast cancer runs in my family. I have a huge, big, open heart, just tender heart for breast cancer and the fight, and just good luck. I hope you have great doctors and great outcomes. And here's your response. Good excuse to move somewhere warm then. There you go. There you go. All right. Gloria Marquez says, there are certain aspects of your story that I definitely relate to. I've managed to take off 30 pounds in the past year, but sometimes I feel like I might slip up and lose control. Frowny face. Dear Gloria, are you doing it on your own, sweetheart, or do you have support? Are you in our beautiful Bright Line Eating community? How can we support you? How could you level up, right? You don't need to be in that precarious state that you describe. You really don't need to be. It's a choice to stay there. And I encourage you to make a different choice. I encourage you to up level. So how can we support you? Please let me know. Um, if you have not done Bootcamp 2.0, I recommend you do it. Even though you've already taken off 30 pounds, even though you've already been doing Bright Line Eating, if you've never done the boot camp, I think that would be your next step. It will up level your program like you can't even imagine. Fiona James says, I'm having trouble with isolating today, and I'm happy to be here live. Day 75 bright, but I'm feeling like I'm just holding on today. Oh, dear Fiona, I am so proud of you. Just so glad that you showed up here live. What a sweet, sweet thing for you to do for yourself. I am beaming love your way. Can you feel it? As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a hug. I'm curious if you can feel this. Fiona. Oh, hey, sweetie. Hey, good for you for showing up here. Well done. Kathy Dwyer says, I've never been slim. but was comfortable with my sexy curves until perimenopause hit, and I just couldn't keep the weight off anymore. I'm uncomfortable in my body and I need to get a handle on things. Kathy, I hear you. You know, perimenopause is a beast. I'm in the middle of it myself. I'm 50 years old and it is a beast. And I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. And I think this could be divine right timing, right? I really encourage you to watch the Food Freedom video series. How's the link, everyone? Is the link fixed? The short link for our Food Freedom videos? How's that going? I think Katie's about to tell me right now. I see her cursor. She's about to tell me I'll take a sip of my throat coat tea. All right, she says should be fixed. Awesome sauce. So, Kathy, I think you're in the right place at the right time. I really do. So, watch those videos, stay present through the week. You know, registration's opening in about a week, and just I invite you to really get curious. Like, is this sent in your path right now for you to make a big change? It's a good time in life to do it, I tell you, because, you know, we're wise enough to really have read a bunch of the owner's manual on ourselves and young enough still to have a lot of life left in us, you know? So yeah. Okay. Arbaj says, I'm having problems planning with variety. So, so a couple thoughts on that. First of all, we don't need that much variety. Like a fair bit of regularity and automaticity in a food plan in Bright Line Eating is a very helpful thing. That said, you don't want to get, you know, bored and antsy with it. So you want to be able to vary it up here and there. And we have a group in our online platform, right? There's Facebook, and then people who don't want to be in Facebook. We have a proprietary platform that works like Facebook, but it's ours. There's no ads. It's totally private. It's not all, you know, that. So we have our platform, and one of the groups in it is called recipes. And this is where people post food ideas. You can't post pictures of junk food in there, but you can post pictures of your bright food, your bright meals. And you can ask for food ideas. You can ask for variety ideas. So let me just give you a couple of examples. I'm not sure if you've been doing this, but one example of something you could do is you can roast some butternut squash. It's just a very, very delicious thing to do, is to roast butternut squash. Now, you could do it the simple way, take a whole butternut squash and stick it in the oven and just roast it for an hour and 20 minutes or something like that, and then let it cool and then cut it up and, you know, scoop it out, and it's delicious. If you want to be a little fancier, you can cut it up into chunks while it's still raw, spray some oil on the pan, spray some oil over it, and sprinkle some cinnamon maybe, and roast that. And oh my gosh, so delicious. Here's another vegetable idea for you. Slice up onions and red or yellow peppers, and or portobello mushrooms, and put them in a big pot and cook the bejesus out of them. Just cook them for a long time, and maybe sprinkle some balsamic vinegar on them, and cook and cook and cook and cook them. So, so, so yummy. I don't know if you realize how sweet onions get when they're cooked down like that. Really, really good. Now, Julia Baker is asking, can you cook fruits? No, I don't recommend cooking fruit. Fruit is possible in Bright Line Eating, and woohoo, amen and hallelujah for that, right? How many plans out there say to curb your fruit? Here, you get to eat whole, real fruit. All the fruits. Eat pineapple if you want to. But we draw the line at fruit juice, dried fruit, cooked fruit. Don't do any of that. Don't do any of that. Keep it whole, real, fresh fruit. The reason is you want to keep that fiber lattice network completely intact and healthy, because that's what's mitigating the rush of fructose into your brain and into your bloodstream. You want to keep that fiber lattice network completely healthy. AJ says, I'm struggling desperately and want to slowly build my support, but I have anxiety and a busy life, so I don't really want to have the pressure of corresponding daily. How can I get into a mastermind group? Okay. So AJ, first of all, I support you. I love you. I hear you. Um, if you're in the boot camp or in Bright Lifers, we have one of those online groups, right? Is called Find a Mastermind Group. And probably the easiest thing for you to do is just to scroll through and look for people who've already posted that they want to be in a mastermind group. You could also post yourself, I want to be in a mastermind group. That's probably the easiest way. I'm assuming you're in our community, and if not, that's probably where you want to start is by joining the boot camp and getting in our community. Carla Saunders says, I was off flour and sugar for 2 months of 2 years. I fell off 9 months ago. I thought my brain would have healed and I ate sugar like I never wanted to stop. Yeah, Carla, that happens. It's sort of like, following a bright line is abstinence, right? And it can kind of feel like it stretches a rubber band. And when you fall off, it can like release and snap and ricochet pretty far and fast. That's happened to me. That's what happened to me when I went from a US size 4 to an Australian size 24 in 3 months back in 2003, right? 6 months of really steadfast adherence to no sugar and no flour, and the ricochet was horrible when I picked up again. The good news is that that runs its course. It really does. And I just got to say, it's also a sign of food addiction, right? Food addiction is a progressive disease. You got to understand here, addiction is progressive. It gets worse over any considerable period of time. It gets worse, never better. And that's true even if you're abstaining. Even if you're abstaining, it's getting worse in the background. Addiction progresses. Now, the good news is recovery is real and recovery also is progressive. So when you stay bright, when you work a full-bodied, comprehensive bright line eating program, your well-being rises and rises and rises, and you just get better and better and better in terms of your flourishing, in terms of your emotional regulation, in terms of your relationships, in terms of your joy, in terms of your self-confidence. So what I want to say is, I've been there. It's super painful. And I don't know of any real solution to that except to get back on the horse. The boot camp is starting in a week, and join us, be with us, right? This is the place to be. Where else are you going to go, right? Rita Peterson says, I'm on day 106. Once I reached close to goal, started struggling, and I'm in the ditch. I'm going to register for the next boot camp. Welcome back, Rita. Welcome back. And I have a question for you. What are you going to do differently this time? Like, if you really look at what your motives were, what your involvement and engagement was like, where you may have gone wrong, right? What are you going to do differently this time? I really encourage you to inventory that. Like, put pen to paper and actually inventory that, Rita. And welcome back. Welcome back. Jennifer Greenwood says, can you please talk about the logic behind not having chickpea flour or just plain non-sweetened protein powder when they're protein, not a grain, and it doesn't break down into glucose? Yes. So first of all, Jennifer, newsflash, we study the science around here and we update our perspectives and opinions based on the latest research. So there actually are some protein powders that are now considered to be bright line eating friendly. One of them, and I don't have, well, I don't know, maybe we do have an affiliate link. I don't know, but I recommend it all the time. And it's not because I'm trying to make money off of it. It's really just I eat it and it's good and it's healthy. It's called Complement protein powder. Complement, Complement. It's incredibly wholesome ingredients. And the reason that I recommend it is I started to really be looking for a way to help people who needed more protein, but whose metabolisms, like mine, were sluggish enough that they just couldn't eat all the calories that were needed to eat the amount of protein that they needed. So protein powders are a really good option for that. The thing about chickpea flour is, what are you going to do with that flour? It's not a whole food. Why would you eat chickpea flour and not chickpeas? Right? You can have hummus in bright line eating. I don't think you need to have chickpea flour. So I wouldn't do the chickpea flour, but a non-sweetened protein powder like complement protein powder is actually fine. Tracy says, can I eat fruits instead of processed sugars and flour? Yes, you can have whole real fruit, Tracy. It's wonderful. Vicky says, can chronic stress be the cause of weight gain and difficulty in losing weight? Yeah, it can. Absolutely, it can. Uh, Maddie Weissner says, greetings from New York City. In your experience, how long does it take most people to start to feel better once they stop eating sugar and flour? Some people feel better immediately. Most people feel better within a week or two. And some people struggle for weeks and weeks and weeks. And this is just a thing, right? Like if oh gosh. I'm trying to think what an example would be, right? Some people are sicker than others. Some brains are more damaged than others. Some people have more complex pathologies going on, right? Psychosocial stressors and multiple health comorbidities. And, it just really varies. Also, people's mindset really varies. Some people are just ready to do this and ready to turn over a new leaf. And there's an optimism and a confidence that they bring to this where they're just like, you know what, I'm doing this. And other people, half of them is doing it, half of them is dragging their feet, and it just really varies. But um, in my experience, most people start to feel better very, very fast. And I'm just gonna share my screen again and show this graph. I just showed it already, right? But you can see this is an average of over 1,000 people, right? So this is a good average. And you can see in terms of hunger and cravings, which are resolving based on deeply rooted physiological healing that's happening at the level of the blood and the brain, right? What's happening is, weeks 1, 2, and 3 are kind of more of the same. And then starting weeks 4 and beyond, things start to heal very fast and in kind of a linear fashion. So yeah, that gives you a good idea. Very good question. And I just want to say to Jennifer Greenwood, you probably saw Katie shared the link to the complement protein powder in the chat. Thank you, Katie. Arlene Gieb says, what is brown fat? Oh yeah, I mentioned that earlier, didn't I? You can Google it, but basically there's white fat, this sort of adipose tissue that we tend to think of as fat. And then there's brown fat, which is metabolically really active and it burns a lot of calories. And yeah, so we don't need to get into that too much, but it's a different kind of fat. So Tracy is responding to me about the fruit. So the only sugar I will be allowed to eat to release and lose the weight would be to only eat whole fruits, period. That's correct. That's correct. That's the only sugar that's allowed is whole fruit. Now, I mean, there's the fruit, there's the sugar in dairy, right? Like you can have milk and yogurt, plain milk and plain yogurt, right? So there's lactose in that if you call that a count of a type of sugar, which I guess it ends in OSE, so it's a type of sugar. Trying to think. Yeah, yeah. Seliket Miles says, Susan, I've weighed myself once and I only want to weigh myself every 6 months to avoid the body scale crazies. I've not been hungry after losing 53 pounds. When should I start to add food, if ever? Seliket, I have a whole comprehensive training course on this. It's called Maintenance 2. And it's the course in Bright Lifers that teaches you how to know what your goal weight range is, how to know when to start adding food, and how to add food, and all of the different nuances you need to know about how to stabilize after that. Now, you could say, well, just give me an answer, Susan. And what I would say to that is, this is a course that's, 5 weeks long, and, it's like 7, 8, 9 hours of material, right? Videos, very organized, very systematic, and it'd take you a little more than a month to go through it. It's available included in your Bright Lifers membership, right? So you need to be in Bright Lifers is where you need to be. I'm writing my 5th book right now, which is all about maintenance. It's called Maintain. I don't even think that book is going to have all the nuance and all the detail that you need. Now, Selket, once you get in, if you've never done the boot camp, you need to start with the boot camp, but you can get on a coaching call immediately and start and get your answers on a coaching call as well. So what you're asking is a detailed, nuanced question, and we have support for you. We have support for you. So really the support is in Bright Lifers, but you have to do the boot camp first to be allowed into Bright Lifers, essentially. So that's where I encourage you to hop in. Noreen Bernard has a delightful question. She says, with this October boot camp, will there be an opportunity to find a buddy? Absolutely. There will be so many opportunities to find buddies, and very structured opportunities, and even a point in the course where we say, now go find a buddy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Audrey Hooper says, I'm looking to break the habit of binge eating and unhealthy foods. Well, Audrey, you're in the perfect place. There's nowhere better to be if you're looking to break the habit of binge eating and unhealthy foods. Now, I would invite you to consider tweaking your language a little bit. I don't think binge eating, in the way you're talking about it, is a habit. I think it's an addiction. And I think it's important to understand the distinction, right? Um, an addiction is when you want to stop and you find you can't. It's when you've tried to stop in the past and you haven't been able to. It's when it's impacting areas of your life, your physical life, your mental life, your psychological life, your relationships, your self-concept in a detrimental way, and you know it and you keep going anyway, right? That's an addiction. It's not a habit. It's not a habit. It's an addiction. Um, and yeah, I have the addiction too. So I'm just very sensitive to that, and my heart goes out to you. I'm laughing, but it's no laughing matter. Food addiction is a beast. So welcome. You're in the right place, my dear. Julia Baker says, number one, do you do veg juicing and veggie smoothies? I've been a martyr to minerals, i.e. no fruit in there, bar lemon juice. Nope, I don't juice my vegetables. And here's why. It's very important to keep the fiber lattice network of those vegetables unadulterated, completely whole. And the mastication, the chewing, actually turns out to be one of the healthiest things we do to release the digestive enzymes in our mouth, to increase neurogenesis in the hippocampus, which staves off Alzheimer's, which keeps our weight nice and stable, which, what else does increased neurogenesis do? It staves off depression. It literally is the creation of new neurons in the brain. Mastication turns out to be essential for that, for proper jaw and face formation, for healthy teeth, for mastication. Oh, mastication also releases GLP-1, the drug that everybody's paying a gajillion dollars for, the weight loss drugs. Mastication, chewing your food, actually releases GLP-1 naturally. So you don't want to drink your food. You want to chew your food. Number two, your question, Julia, is there a quantity profile to the plan or calorie? You've mentioned weighing things. Yeah, it's not a calorie counting based plan. It's a plan based on food categories, and the categories would be protein, vegetable, fruit, fat, grain. Those are the categories. And then quantities, like, 6 ounces of vegetable, 4 ounces of protein, 6 ounces of fruit, a tablespoon of fat, that kind of thing. So, and weighing and measuring with a digital food scale, getting those quantities precise. And then what other strategies do you use to combat inflammation, please? So mostly the Bright Line Eating food plan takes care of inflammation. And I was just talking with someone today who's been doing this plan for steadily for 6 months. And his C-reactive protein, CRP measurement, which is a measure of inflammation in the brain and the body, right, has gone from, 4.5 to 2.1 over those 6 months. And his functional medicine doctor is over the moon, proud of him and happy. It really just doing this plan. And he doesn't tweak his plan to optimize it in any way, shape, or form. He just follows the plan. He eats what he wants to eat. He follows the plan. Now, if you want to optimize for anti-inflammation on top of that, you can select your foods within each category for optimal anti-inflammation effects, right? So for example, for breakfast, you get to have a fruit. Well, instead of having 6 ounces of mango or pineapple or banana, have 6 ounces of blueberries or strawberries, right? At lunch, instead of having 6 ounces of peas or corn, have 6 ounces of steamed leafy greens, right? So you can do things to optimize for combating inflammation. Those are my thoughts. Jen says, I'm struggling with hunger really bad. I switched from McDougall, whole food plant-based, to Bright Line Eating a week ago, and I feel hungry all the time. Other people say the meals are huge and filling, but I'm an overeater. I don't struggle with sugar or flour, just overeating whole normal foods. So Jen, first of all, my heart goes out to you because hunger is really hard. It is, it's really hard. And what I would recommend, honestly, is get into the boot camp and get coaching around this because it could be that you need more protein. It could be that you could add 4 ounces of vegetables to each of your meals and be fine. It could be that this will calm down after a week, that your body just needs to adapt. I'm with you in that my food addiction also manifests as a very, very, very strong addiction to quantities and to just wanting to eat more. But there could be lots of different things going on, some of them emotional or mental, and some of them physiological. And what I don't want to do is just have a knee-jerk reaction to tell you, tough it out. You got this, right? When there could be something physiological going on, right? For example, the brain has 5 appetites. The brain and the body have 5 appetite systems. An appetite is a system that drives you to eat, right? So what you're saying is that one or more of your appetites are really activated, right? And you're feeling really hungry. Those 5 appetite systems are for each of the macronutrients, so protein, carbohydrate, and fat, and then calcium and salt, right? So just a quick question. You're coming from the McDougall plan. Are you now adding salt to your food? Because you need to be. You need to be. If you're eating whole real food and you're not adding salt, you're not getting enough salt. And there is a salt appetite. So you could be literally hungry because your body is saying, I need more salt. But the driving appetite, the one that's kind of the trump card, is the appetite for protein. If you're not getting enough protein, you're just going to be hungry. And so you might want to switch to the protein enhanced plan. But I would recommend that you get coaching because the Bright Line Eating coaches are really good at dealing with people being hungry and trying to and ferreting out whether it's physiological or psychological. Carolina says, what are your thoughts about metabolic damage when we're in a caloric deficit for years to lose and then mixing this with binge periods? Sending gratitude. Yeah, Carolina, my thoughts are that that's pretty real. It's pretty real. And there are ways to build it back up. Basically, we're talking about mitochondrial damage. Okay, so every cell in the human body has mitochondria. You may have learned about this in basic biology, right? The little organelle in the cell that's called the powerhouse of the cell, right? And you can have just a few or, 10 or 20 times as many. They can be small or they can be big, and they can be weak or they can be strong. And a strong metabolism means strong mitochondria. And there are ways to make your mitochondria more numerous, stronger, more robust. There's supplements you can take that do it. I recommend Ari Whitten's Energenesis. And there's also hormetic stressors you can engage in. Hormesis is when you stress the body in a way that is good for it so that it adapts, like exercise is the classic hormetic stressor, right? A little bit of exercise, not running a marathon if you've got fibromyalgia, right? That's too much, but a moderate amount of a hormetic stressor is a really good thing. And one of the things it does is it improves your mitochondrial strength and functioning. So, cold exposure, heat exposure, oxygen deprivation. So there are things you can do over time. Now being bright and just eating a lot of fruits and vegetables like we do in Bright Line Eating is one of the best things you can do, because one of the best hormetic stressors is actually the phytotoxins in these fruits and vegetables that we all know that are super healthy for you, right? Like broccoli, blueberries. Turns out what's healthiest about them, it's not their antioxidants, it's not their fiber content, it's not their vitamins and minerals. It's actually the toxins, the phytotoxins in those particular fruits and vegetables. They're particularly toxic in a healthy way. Those toxins make the body wake up and adapt. The body goes, oh, wow, we gotta get stronger, kind of like exercise, right? Um, so just staying bright is one of the number one things you can do. Now, Carolina, if you're binging intermittently with Bright Line Eating, I really encourage you to be in our community and working with Dr. Joy Jacobs. She manages our fifth Bright Line group. The fifth Bright Line is no binging, no purging, right? And so that's a group that's dedicated to people who are doing Bright Line Eating, but who also have some eating disorder type symptoms. So restrictive food thoughts, thoughts of food restriction, right? Binge behavior or purge behavior, like over exercising or laxative use or vomiting, those types of purging behaviors. Dr. Joy Jacobs is a true professional. She's a clinical faculty of psychiatry at the University of California at San Diego. She has a private practice where she's licensed and treats people with eating disorders of all kinds. And she's very dedicated to our Bright Line Eating movement and works with people in Bright Line Eating in a group setting, helping people. But there are tried and true ways to nip binge behavior in the bud so you can stay bright consecutively. In particular, adding a fourth or a fifth meal and eating a little more food, like not just spreading your meals out over 4 or 5 meals, but literally adding more food to be a fourth and a fifth meal. So you're eating more food. And that usually stops the binging. So I encourage you to get in Dr. Joy's community. You'll have access to that in the boot camp and in Bright Lifers. So sending so much love to you, my dear. Sophia says, how should we be aware of this? Great automaticity in getting our food. If there's a schedule, or what is the key to open this unknown door, Susan? Oh, Sophia, I tell you all about it in this video series. Yeah, you just have to keep waiting for the videos to be released one at a time. And I tell you the keys to automaticity. The Bright Line Eating plan is scientifically designed to be the most automatizable plan possible. It is truly optimized for automaticity. And I'm just excited that you're so excited to learn about those secrets. It's really fun. It's really fun. Okay. Christy Stone says, how do you use the complement protein powder? I'm 56 and postmenopausal and could probably use some of the benefits of having extra protein. Okay, Christy, here's how it works. In Bright Line Eating, we deal with servings of food, right? One protein serving, which could be 4 ounces of tofu or 4 ounces of chicken, right? One protein serving. Complement protein powder is 2 ounces of that powder equals 1 protein serving. So just like 2 ounces of cheese or 2 ounces of nuts or 2 ounces of seeds, 2 ounces of complement protein powder equals 1 protein serving in Bright Line Eating. I find that's way too much for anyone to want to do. So what I recommend you do is have half of that. So do 1 ounce of the complement protein powder, and then in that same meal, have half of another protein. So like 1 ounce of nuts. And that would be your protein serving. And then what you do is you shake it up into a shaker bottle, and you with water, 8, 10, 12, 16 ounces of water, and then you just drink it down. It kind of tastes a little bit like pea soup, mildly. It's not super delicious. It's not super gross. It's kind of somewhere in between. And I just drink it medicinally. I'm just like, well, that's just, yeah, there you go. Um, Vicky Hoyt says, I'm on day 39. I've had no problem staying bright, but my energy levels are rock bottom. When will this get better? Oh, Vicky. So usually it's gotten better for people by now. I'm sorry to tell you that. You're a bit of an outlier, my dear. I relate. I was too. It took forever for my energy to come back. Uh, for almost everyone, it's back by 90 days. If it hasn't come back for you within another, well, even right now, I would recommend you go to a doctor. Get your thyroid levels checked. And Vicky, do you have a pencil? I want you to write this down, because what happened for me was my thyroid was off and they didn't catch it for months. And they said, oh no, your thyroid's fine. But it was not fine because they didn't run the right tests. All right. They will run a test for TSH and free T4, free T4. But tell them please to also run a test for free T3 and reverse T3. That's what they probably won't do. And ask them to run a test for DHEA as well. That's another hormone. All right. So you need, in addition to the TSH and the T4 that they're going to run, you need T3, free T3, reverse T3, and DHEA. If your reverse T3 is sky high, that means that you got a problem, because, and that was what was true for me. Because reverse T3 masquerades as T3, and the test for T3 measures it, and then your T3 looks normal, but it's not. You got all this junk reverse T3 in there, and the test is bunk because you've got all this reverse T3. It's not real T3. So the test is picking that up. So T3 is actually the metabolically active thyroid hormone. And if your TSH and your T4 look fine, but your T3 is low, well, you're not converting T4 to T3 properly at the cell. And you're going to need some support. Now, you can take a pill with just T3 in it, which is what I do. So there is a treatment for that. So most people are not still tired at day 39. It's not unheard of, though. There's a very good chance that this will resolve on its own by 90 days. If it hasn't, look into stuff. Start looking into fibromyalgia, start looking into Hashimoto's hypothyroiditis, start looking into stuff. Live Long with Force says, thank you so much, Susan, for doing this live stream. It's wonderful to finally see you live. I felt disconnected with the Bright Line Eating community since the Facebook group changed. The app is okay, but I enjoy the simplicity, the engagement, and the interactivity of platforms like Discord and Reddit. Are there BLE communities there? I don't know. I'm not in Reddit or Discord, so you'd have to look. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I find our Facebook group community to be powerfully active and engaged. I mean, it's ridiculously engaged. I'm always seeing like Facebook is proposing to me, join this group, join that group, join that group, 8 posts per month, 5 posts per month. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we have 8 posts per, I don't know. I don't want to make something up because it'll be wrong, but we're way more engaged than that. So, yeah, okay. Okay, Lida from Sophia says Dragonfly Wellness TV. Do you believe the brain can ever heal from addiction? In the psychedelic assisted therapy space, we've been seeing some incredible results that are making us rethink the addicted brain. So here's what I'm a believer of. If the question is, Can someone heal from addiction to the point where they can then use their addictive behavior or substance and not have a problem with it anymore? I don't see that much. And the reality is that the neuroscience shows that those fiber tracks for addiction, once they're well worn in the brain, they never go away. And I don't think psychedelics makes them go away either. What psychedelics do is they create more disparate connections between parts of the brain that don't usually talk. Now, this creates the impression of making it look like the addiction is healed because it effectively reroutes the neural energy from the addictive pathway to other pathways. But the addictive pathway is still there, right? So what's needed is the continuity of the new behaviors, the new impulses, the new recovery way. And then someone like me can, for all intents and purposes, look like someone who's not addicted. I'm not addicted to anything right now. I have a history of wicked addiction to almost everything, and I'm not addicted to anything right now. But am I still an addict deep down? Oh, you better believe it. I am still an addict deep down. And that identity is important for me to hold on to because the reality is I don't want to go back there. And those circuits are still lying in my brain dormant. I'm just not using them. I've rerouted the energy and I'm using other circuits. So the important distinction is I know that I'm not going to be going and eating sugar and flour successfully. It doesn't work like that. But as long as I maintain my bright lines, as long as I maintain my activities and connections in my beautiful bright community, I get to live as someone who's as healed and free as anyone I know, right? Um, so yeah, once a pickle, always a pickle, unfortunately. You can't turn the pickle back into a cucumber. And I think my team is sharing the link to a vlog that I shot called Once a Pickle, Always a Pickle. Uh, However, recovery is very real and full-bodied and complete. It's just that you need to keep the guardrails up and keep doing the things that work. When you go back to what doesn't work, you get the same results you always got. AJ says, can you please talk more about boot camp? Yeah, so boot camp, we've expanded it. It's called Boot Camp 2.0. It's now a 12-week course, and it takes you from the beginning to forming such a strong, vibrant, bright line eating program. You lose a ton of weight, really as much weight. Let me show you some stats here. Let me share my screen here. These are published data in the peer-reviewed literature. If you look at, give me a second here. I just want to make this a little easier to see. There we go. So these are all the weight loss programs you're used to from back in the day, right? Noom, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, Atkins, all those. And you can see the yellow bars are 2-month results. The red bars are 1-year results, and the blue bars, which nobody usually ever publishes, very rarely, are the 2-year results. And it's very clear here, there's two options that are heads and shoulders above the rest, and those are weight loss drugs and bright line eating. And weight loss drugs work, make no mistake about it. Now, they don't work as well long-term. Since this graph was put together, we've got more recent data showing 4-year results for semaglutide. Those results are down at 10%. So it stops working quite as well. Somewhere between 2 years and 4 years, it stops working. Now, most people don't stay on them for 4 years. People get off the drugs pretty rapidly for a whole host of reasons. But if you can stay on them, you can maintain probably about a 10% weight loss long term. Bright line eating at 6 years is at 14%. So where that paper is submitted to publication right now in the Journal of Obesity, and at 6 years we're at 14%. So you can see the yellow bars here at 2 months. These would be boot camp weight loss numbers. You can see you lose way more weight in the first 2 months with bright line eating than you do with weight loss drugs or any other program. So that's what I mean when I say a ton of weight. You lose just more weight than you lose with other approaches, right? There's a lot of camaraderie and connectedness. There's coaching available. There's weekly video modules that are released. So I've shot videos. It's me talking, and guiding you through what you can expect, what's happening in your brain, what's happening psychologically, tips and tricks, things to keep in mind for the stage of the journey that you're at. Um, yeah, and it's such a fun experience that people honestly they redo it over and over again just but there's nothing like the first time. The first boot camp is so, so powerful. I'm curious if there's anyone here who's done the boot camp, if you want to post in the comments what your experience was like. Because, I can talk about it, but I offer the boot camp. So I'm obviously a biased spokesperson, but maybe there's people live here who've done the boot camp who could share their experience. Um, AJ says, I have the regular Bright Line Eating membership. I just signed up for the boot camp this morning, but I haven't gotten an email yet. I heard there were different start dates in October. Yeah, let me just check my phone here. I just want to give you the right start date. Um, the boot camp kickoff call, like the big cohort that we're offering, it's going to start on October 6th. The boot camp is going to start with a kickoff call on October 6th. And registration is going to start on Wednesday, October 2nd. Wednesday, October 2nd. Vi says, oh, this is such a good question, Vi. I'm so glad you asked this. Why do we need to weigh non-starchy vegetables since they're so low in calories? So, your question is an excellent one. And it's also revealing, and I don't mean this as an insult. Please, Vi, don't think I'm insulting you here. It's revealing a diet mentality, right? That's exactly right if what you're doing fundamentally is a diet. But what we're doing around here is not a diet. What we're aiming to achieve with the digital food scale is mental peace. And for those of us, which is a lot of us around here, who have the hungry food monster who's always saying more, more, and always negotiating in this seductive, subtle way. Maybe you didn't have enough of this, you could have a little bit more. Those are very low in calories. Maybe you could have a little bit more of those, right? Just aiming to find a way to keep the chewing and the satisfaction from having something in your mouth going in an addictive way. We're looking to break that. And we're looking to create a level of clarity and boundaries around food so that once you've had your last bite of food for the meal, your brain never suggests that you eat again until it's time for the next meal. Literally, you have hours of time where you have utter, complete peace and freedom from the food. That's what the digital food scale achieves. So we're not looking to game the system with a bunch of free foods and looking to be people with a bag of baby carrots in our lap as we drive down the car eating just so that we have something to chew on, or eating packs of sugar-free gum because there's no calories in it, right? That's all well and good if you're dieting. How well did that work for us, right? It doesn't work long term because it's not really addressing the underlying issue of the behavioral addiction. So keep in mind, food addiction is both a substance addiction, an addiction to the substance of sugar and flour, and also a behavioral addiction, an addiction to the process of chewing and eating itself. And the digital food scale addresses the behavioral addiction, the process addiction, the addiction to chewing. So it's a great question. Bye. AJ says, thank you so, so much for answering all my questions. I think this boot camp is exactly what I need. AJ, welcome. I'm so excited to welcome you to the boot camp and excited to watch your progress as you hop on board and experience the magic of it. It's going to be so good. Diana Olson says, will most practitioners know how to interpret the results of T3 and reverse T3 in conjunction with T4 and DHEA? Probably, maybe not all. But fingers crossed. A functional medicine doctor would, an endocrinologist would, many osteopaths would. Um, but it's not super rocket science. Actually, you could do it, Diana, because what happens is when you get the results, there's the normal range, and then there's where you are, right? And if your T3 is on the very low end of the normal range, even if it's normal and you feel terrible, you feel exhausted, then that's something to look at, right? If your reverse T3 is out of the normal range, it's too high, then that's a problem, right? So Ali King says, how much does Bright Lifers cost after the boot camp? You get an opportunity, Ali, to sign up right after the boot camp for $100 off. So it's a price match with our best price ever for Bright Lifers, which is $3.99 a year. It's an annual membership for $3.99 a year. If you don't take us up on that right as the boot camp ends and you say, nah, I'm good on my own. And then 3 months later, you're like, oh no, I really should have signed up for boot camp. You can come back and it's $100 more per year. It's $497 a year. Um, oh, I'm not surprised. Look at all these people who posted about the boot camp. Cloudy Skies says, I just finished boot camp 2.0 this summer. Kathy Jean says, boot camp was great. I did it in 2020. Rosie Ruiz says, the best part for me in boot camp 2.0 was the sense of peace. So strong. I said it was like an out-of-body experience, just so different from any other attempts over 55 years of dieting I'd ever tried. Thank you, Rosie. Beautiful. Noreen says, I found out about bright line eating for my daughter when Susan Peirce Thompson was on TV. I read your first book. I signed up for the 14-day or the 13-day boot camp in 2019. I lost 48 pounds. I think you meant the 14-day. We had a little 14-day challenge available then. We don't have it anymore. I did boot camp, rejoined starting in October 2024. I've gained all my weight back, but I am back. Welcome back, Noreen. Selcat says, I was in boot camp 2.0 in January with a veteran and a resumer, and it could not have been better. I became a bright lifer afterwards, and I've never had any hunger or food chatter. What a relief. Um, that's awesome, Selcat. Beautiful. Shauna Murph is here, says boot camp was something I didn't think I would get much out of, but it truly was the foundation. I was able to build from that, and it's kept me shiny bright for over 7 years, and I've kept 125 pounds off. Amazing, Shauna. That's such a miracle. 7 years. Imagine everyone keeping 125 pounds off for 7 years and counting. Amazing. Bev says, how can I be content with my healthy weight without wanting to go lower? Yeah, Bev, this is something we often deal with, right? This anorexic part of us that just wants to go lower, lower, lower. It's what I call the third identity shift in maintenance, is becoming someone who is done with the whole food and weight struggle, done with losing weight and gaining weight, done with body dissatisfaction, done with thinking that a number on the scale is going to matter or solve it. It doesn't, right? Moving on from the food and the weight for good. And how do we do it? I mean, I think some of it is being around other people who've done it. There are those of us in Bright Line Eating who've gotten there, and befriending those people, like Shauna Murph is one of them. She's right here. You could ask her, hey, Shauna, can I call you sometime? I want what you have. I want to be in a right-sized body and content with it. I want body contentment. It's such an interesting thing. I once had a friend who was, she looked like a supermodel. She was a supermodel. She was stunning looking. And she was not content with her looks or her body. She criticized her arms. She thought she needed to lose weight here or there. She was obsessed about her teeth, blah, blah, blah. And it was such an eye-opening experience for me. I realized the reality is not that I or any of us objectively need to look better. The contentment is the goal. There's actually no amount of looking different that results in contentment for anyone. Body satisfaction is itself its own thing. And becoming someone who is content, even appreciative and grateful for the bodies that we're in and all they do for us, it's such a magical state. And so, Bev, what I would encourage you to do is, first of all, foster the desire for that state. Desire to become someone who is content with her body and not at war with it, who really accepts who she is and the skin she's in. Because body satisfaction is what's attractive, right? Not this weight or that weight. There's no perfect weight. It's done, sweetheart. The war is over. You won. You won. And it's time to just relax. It's time to just accept. You got this, sweetie. Sophia says, hello from Syria. Can you succeed with Brightline through just reading the book? I can't afford the boot camp. Sophia, hello. Hello to you in Syria. Yeah, get the book, and you'll notice in there that there are a lot of tools for you, including a mastermind meeting template for a weekly call. I encourage you to find somehow 3 other people who are doing Brightline Eating with the book that you can be in touch with every week and use that call form and support each other. You can do it with the book. It's harder, and you need to create your own support structures. And so use the book and the mastermind call format and find other people to do it with you. I am sending you so much love and so much strength. You got this. Melvon32 says, if I'm a bright lifer, I don't need to wait until October 6th. Is that right? That's correct. If you're a bright lifer, you have access to everything at your fingertips. That's correct. Live Long with Force says, I compare being bright with coming out of the Matrix, like the movie. Your eyes are open to the truth, and you see how normal it is for people to be ruled by addictive foods. Indeed. Cher Matthews says, I've been in Brightline Eating since 2018. What is the best way to attack 10 pounds of weight creep over the last 6 years? I mean, you could just go back on the weight loss food plan. That's probably what I would do. Evelyn Woodhurst says, do you have local meetings or in-person meetings? Some people do, yes. There are Facebook groups that use the term brightest in them with a location name. So it could be broad, like Minnesota's brightest, Utah's brightest, Pacific Northwest's brightest, San Francisco Bay Area's brightest, New York City's brightest, or it could be more specific to a specific city, like I'm in Rochester, New York, and there's Rochester's brightest. And if you get into one of those Facebook groups that's for a place near you, then you can find out about some local meetups. Now, just to be clear, Brightline Eating doesn't run those. Those are volunteer, just people get together, whatever. The structures that are official in Brightline Eating are all online. They are not face to face. Lydia, but this is someone from Lydia. Yeah. It's Lydia from Sophia. Okay. Lydia from Sophia says, so just to make a little joke and give another joyful remark, what about a perfect bite that we all deserve to have? Okay, from time to time or seldom. So the reality, my dear, is that we end up finding and seeking that special comfort, that special sweetness, that special treat, that special something, not from food anymore. We get it from a moment with a friend, from snuggling with a teddy bear, from a cup of herbal tea and a good book, from turning out the light at night, knowing we had a beautiful, bright day and we ate only and exactly what we wrote down in our food journal that day, and we feel so wonderful to be bright. We find what real comfort and real nourishment and real support, and real joy comes from. And it doesn't come from food. It never did, right? Food is a terrible substitute for real pleasure, right? Real pleasure comes in other ways. And when we stop seeking it in food, we end up finding it so much more in every other area of our life. All right, so we have a bunch of closing comments here. Dragonfly Wellness TV says, thanks for the thoughtful answers, Susan. I've been free from my food addiction for 7 years through Bright Line Eating and really appreciate all you do and your deep knowledge of the brain. You're welcome. Kim says, first time here and definitely joining the program. I resonate with this so very much. Welcome, Kim Halper. I'm so excited for you, my dear. Welcome. Noreen says, I feel Bright Line Eating is a gift and I thank you for it. You are welcome, Noreen. Jennifer Greenwood says, Jen here from Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada. I've been on the Bright Line Eating plan for 2.5 years now. I've lost 80 pounds and I've maintained that 80-pound weight loss for over a year now. I'm so grateful to you, Susan Peirce Thompson, and your brilliant plan. Congratulations, Jen. Well done. Melissa Pendergrass says, I am 149 days in. I feel so much freedom. I've released 47 pounds. I'm so grateful for Bright Line Eating. For the first time ever, I feel like I can get down to a healthy, happy weight and body and maintain it. Welcome, Melissa. I'm so proud of you. Well done. Chantal Lambert says, hello, Susan. I'm Chantal from Léry, Quebec. I'm on day 11 and it's a life-changing experience, Bright Line Eating. I'm grateful for you in my life. Welcome, Chantal. Anthony Sanchez says, SPT. I just want to take a moment to send gratitude and thanks to you and the entire Bright Line Eating team. Y'all are doing some serious work. Anthony. Liba Wise says, Liba from New York, 44 pounds lost and in my second year of maintenance. Beautiful. All right, everyone, we've come to the end of our time together today. Let me tell you for a second about what's coming up. So remember that registration for boot camp is opening on October 2nd, and the boot camp is starting on October 6th. And we have a series of videos that are now being released. Video 1 is available. Just look for the link in this YouTube Live. Look for the link and click on the link. Bookmark that page because video 1 is available now. Video 2 will be available on Saturday, and video 3 will be available on Monday. And I'll be doing a webinar next week, and I'll be back here on YouTube Live if you want to come join me live on Sunday. That's this coming Sunday, September 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern. I can't wait to be with you again. It's been so sweet to be with you. Thank you for all your questions. So much love. Bye, everyone.